All right, then I guess let's get going. Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet everyone. Very excited to be here at the Uppstart conference. I'm Max. I'm one of the founders of a company called Actyx. We are a software company based in Munich. And I'm very excited to talk today about factories and about two technology trends, the Internet of Things and the blockchain technology trend, which we use in our company and which is a general theme on making factories smarter. And I'm not sure if everyone has been to a factory, but the common thinking about how a factory works is usually on this picture, like very automated, a lot of robots, not a lot of people, and very, very efficient production lines running in the factory and producing our things. The reality, though, is that most factories are a lot less advanced than people would think. Factories are very complex systems, and usually there's a lot of human intuition, which is basically driving the process in the end. And in general, it's very useful for factories to automate decision making, to drive the process, to connect production, logistics, operations, and these sort of things, which I will give you a little bit more insight in a second. But in general, factories are not using software to drive their processes. You have software running in the business process layer, and you have software running in the machines. But then when it comes to connecting and orchestrating the people and the process between the machines, there's not a lot of software being used. And the problem is that buying the software is extremely risky and expensive today for factories. Usually, if you talk with people in factories, they're kind of afraid of IT projects. They don't have the thinking, okay, let's digitize this because it will take like 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. It will cost a lot of money and it will cost a lot more than we thought it is. And this is changing in our opinion. I'm gonna walk you through trends which help to make software more affordable, help factories to digitize in a more effective way. And why is software so good to drive process in the factory? If you look at the machine module, there you have your controller, which is basically automating physical tasks inside the machine. Basically a robot automating a physical movement. But once you have a production line, you have different robots. You have also people working in the production line. It's very useful to orchestrate these things using software, to assist the worker in setting up the machine, to automatically take decisions when to maintain a machine optimally, and to also flexibly integrate robots and the machine, because the robot needs to know when to pick up the material when the machine has finished producing it. And this continues. You have, like, once you go out of a single production line or a workstation, you have people who are transporting material to the workstation, like tools or the input material. You have several workstations which you basically are used for producing a product. You also have maybe things like other robots, not only in the production line, but robots driving around and bringing material. And this orchestration and this driving this process, when should I pick up the material? Can I really produce this product at this workstation? How should I set up the machine optimally? There you can use software to basically automate this decision-making automation flows. And of course, always connecting the top floor where people are basically working in engineering departments, in the planning departments, in the purchasing departments. These sort of things is very important. Where you already have a lot of software, but like on this layer, on the shop floor layer, on this process layer, there's a huge potential for factories to basically use more software. And as I said, the world is changing, and this is also what the talk is about. There are 3 trends which we see are very, very useful to apply in the domain of factories, which are applied in a lot of different areas, which are especially useful in the context of factories. And the goal is to make factories more efficient, more intelligent by adopting these technologies to build software. The first trend is edge computing. So classically, you would run everything on a centralized server running in the cloud or running on a local data center. Now the trend is adopted from the Internet of Things, that you pre-process information directly at your asset, that you have a computer directly at your machine or a different asset, and that you not do all the computation on a centralized place, but that you distribute this computing and do it right at the machine to predict when a machine is going to fail, to pre-process sensor data, for example, that you not always send all the data to the cloud, for example, for analytics and visualizations, because then you might consume all the bandwidth. So basically decentralizing and in some sense distributing a computational power, which in the end has a benefit, and this is very important in the context of factories, that the computation is very performant. Because you don't have to go back and forth, because you don't rely on the connectivity, you can already make this place decision making directly at the asset, and you can do it a lot faster in a lot more effective way. So this is the first trend. The second one, also adopted from the Internet of Things, is streaming technologies. So in a factory, a lot of things are moving very, very fast. And streaming technologies allow you to create insights on live data, like live data coming from the machines, in real time, basically analyzing whether a product is good or bad, and detecting quality problems, creating defects, and these sort of things. And so this is one part, basically the performance with which you can analyze data. The second part, which is often neglected, is the ability to decouple the sender and the receiver. So in the data streams, you basically have people or machines or forklifts or robots, which are basically communicating what they are doing, sensor data, status updates, these sort of things. And you have people who are receiving this information, or assets and machines who are receiving this information. And the interesting part is now that you can have, for one sender, for one machine, for example, which is emitting information, you can have different people and different assets which are interpreting this information. You can have people in the maintenance department because they're interested in understanding the machine cycles to know when to maintain the machine the next time. You could have another machine which is listening to the sensor data to analyze whether the quality is good or bad. And this is a very, very important factor, that you can have decouple these basically senders and receivers. And this is important because because you can start small and scale later. So one of the problems in digitalization efforts for factories that we can see is that people are thinking too complex about digitization in general. People don't know where to start. People think they need to have McKinsey in their factories to analyze their processes and come up with 5-year strategies. In our opinion, this is not what is basically needed. You need to have a very flexible IT system, and you start by solving one concrete problem. But you need to have the flexibility to scale and adapt and extend it very easily without rewriting your entire software stack. And data streaming or streaming technologies in general allow you to do that. You can start by just digitizing one machine, and then you go digitizing more machines, digitizing different functions in the factory. So this is the second trend, streaming technologies. The third trend, and this coming from the blockchain domain, is decentralized computing. So decentralization in general has received an enormous boost in the last years. So it started, probably a lot of people remember the BitTorrent times around 20 years ago is when this started. Basically that you don't download or don't share files and receive files from a central place, but that you share it across computers. And this has even significantly accelerated this trend in the blockchain area, where you basically make decentralized decision making. And the blockchain is a lot about consensus building and authorizations, but also the underlying infrastructure in sharing and storing data across different devices and different computers across the entire world helps to build decentralized systems. And this is also the authentication and consensus building is very interesting in terms of factories when you think about the supply chain, smart contracts, automatic, basically negotiating between factories. What we are more interested, if you think about factory automation, is really the architecture which lies underneath it. And that's the decentralized architecture, which has a huge advantage. Classically, all the IT systems which are built in the factory domain are usually based on a centralized client-server architecture, where you have a centralized servers, where you have all your data, you have all your logic, and then you have your client devices, which could be controllers, which could be mobile devices, computers, which are all connecting to the server. And you always rely on the connectivity to the centralized server. And usually you always not only have one system, but you need to connect different systems together. And it very, very easily becomes a very complex system. And the biggest problem is that you always have this bottleneck of decentralized components. Every time you add a new machine to your system or digitize another worker, you have to make sure that the centralized server is basically capable of supporting this. And usually what happens is that you either over-engineer, invest too much money, or under-engineer it, and you have to rewrite a lot of things when you scale your system. And especially reliability is a problem. If you drive a process in the factory, if you automatically decide when a material should be brought to a workstation, this should happen extremely reliably. Because otherwise the material won't end up at the machine, which means the production process comes to a standstill. That's why the trend coming from the blockchain domain and the underlying technologies are very useful to build a different type of IT system, a decentralized system, in which you don't have any single point of failures anymore, you don't have any centralized components, but you basically have the computers where you have your logic running on the computers, where you have your storage directly on the computers. And the advantage of the system is that it's much more robust and reliable. And even if one component breaks, the rest of the components can still work. It's not like on the left picture where if the centralized server breaks, everything goes to hell basically. Or you can as well scale it a lot better. Because you don't have to upgrade a centralized component, you don't have any bottlenecks, you can very easily scale it. And especially in a context of a factory, you could have already thousands of computers being running in a factory, where you have dozens or hundreds of machines, where you have hundreds of people walking around. And if you equip everything with one computer, you got a lot of things that you need to connect. And in this sense, a decentralized architecture is a lot better. And this is also what we are doing at Actyx. We are combining these three technologies, the edge computing technologies, the streaming technologies, the decentralized paradigm of building IT system, into an application platform to automate factories. And basically what we allow is that we build on top of these fundamental technologies, these decentralized paradigms, and allow you to run software directly on edge devices, on tablets, on smartphones, on gateways, on industrial computers. And our platform takes care of distributing all the data across all the devices, storing all the data on all the devices. And now you can build applications on top of this infrastructure to digitize your process and automate decision making. Integrate into a machine, automatically analyze sensor data, assist workers on mobile devices. And you can very, very easily scale the system out because of this decentralized nature of the system. Maybe to give you two examples of what you can do. What does factory automation basically mean? So this is an example of a system which was built by a small to medium-sized enterprise in Germany. This is a company which is filling chemical products into tubes and canisters. And here, one of the challenges for this factory was to make sure that the material always arrives on time at the workstation. Because they are filling like glues and in small tubes, they're moving a lot of material in a short period of time. And making sure that you always have sufficient material at the workstation is very important, because otherwise the machine stops. And what the IT department has built is an application for forklift drivers. So the forklift drivers have a tablet where they can see where do I need to bring which material. Now you have the machines connected, people can request material there, and they report how much material do they have produced. And based on this information, you automatically compute whether a pallet, like a box of a product, is finished and can be picked up, or whether somebody needs new material. And the advantage now of this decentralized approach is that, especially for the forklift drivers, they drive around in the factory and they don't always have connectivity, for example, and Wi-Fi connectivity. But you don't need this in a decentralized world, because you have the data locally on your device. Even if you don't have connectivity for a few seconds, the worker can still access the list of materials, can still report that he has brought material to the workstation. And in the end, what this technologies allow is just speed. And instead of taking 5, 7, 8 weeks to build such a system, you can build it in 2 weeks. And actually, the IT department was building the first version of the system within only 2 days. So something which is incredible for a factory to have a system like that running in such a short period of time. The second example is more intelligence towards and inside the machine. You don't only have to make data available to humans to basically drive decision making, but the machines can already take decisions by themselves. And this is an example of two production lines which are located very closely together at the factory, which are producing parts for the automotive industry. In an automotive industry, it's always very important to trace your product and your machine data together. Because if BMW is calling this company, they need to answer the question whether they have produced the product in the right way. So that's why you have to know what has actually happened with the product. So this is one part of the solution, is that you basically extract the data from the controllers, from the machines, and link it to the product, the sensor values. But you don't only do that. In a second machine, you basically detect and analyze this machine data to detect whether the product is good or bad. As you compare it to tolerances, is the torque applied in the right way? If not, then you basically send a signal automatically to the machine to eject the product, where somebody, a human, can pick it up, look at it, rework it, can access the data on a tablet computer, and maybe discard it or basically repairs the product. Also, another example where it's extremely important that you have a reliable decision making. And it's interesting because this system was replaced by a centralized client-server system. Because in this, in a traditional solution, the system or the machine sometimes couldn't talk with the centralized server in the local data center. And what it meant for the factory was that the machine was coming to a standstill. And they are producing 3 products per minute. Each product costs around 350 euros. So they lose around 1,000 euros in revenue per minute if they can't reach the centralized server. And in a decentralized world, you don't have a lot less components. You can make decision making directly at the machine, and are basically a lot more reliable in terms of building such a system up. In the end, that's also what we are offering against speed in implementing such a solution. With this, I conclude. This is what I brought you. I'm very interested in questions to answer and dive into a discussion.